Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of In Conversation with Evolving HR. This week I am joined by Aime Ayrehart. Aime, welcome. Thank you for coming
Hello.
along. We were just talking about how I was going to introduce you because there are a number of different ways that I can introduce you, but what I'm going to go with, I'm going to tell our audience this is Aime Ayrehart from the HR and Workers Trade Union, which she set up. And therein lies the topic of our conversation. Aime, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and what it was that made you even think that setting up a trade union might be a thing? Just talk us through that
Just a
story.
little bit, yeah. So my background is mainly public sector HR. I've got my family are very public sector orientated. My brother's a fireman. My sister is a police officer. My parents were teachers. So I went into HR in the public sector. And I don't know. I think I can be a bit literal, and a different conversation about labels. But I kind of thought that the purpose of HR was to treat staff fairly and make sure it all worked out, and make sure an organisation worked well, and help managers to help people learn and manage people properly. That was because that helps, especially in the public sector, that helps the organisation to run and the public. And yet, turns out. Yeah, that's not always what they wanted me to do. And I got in a lot of trouble for pointing out things that were wrong or rubbish or ridiculous and accused of like, well, you support people too much and you're not. Sorry. Anyway, so I got into a number of scrapes, but I got into particularly one with when I was reporting to the chief exec of a local authority. And I have literally written a book about this and published it. It became an Amazon bestseller.
I will put a link to Amy's book. I will put a link to your book below, and it is well worth a read because the thing you had to contend with in that role and the fallout from you speaking up about it. Well, it had to go in a book, really, didn't it? It was like, it's practically movie material. So
I was going to say, all right, but I get I'm just not that interested in money or status or power. I just believe in fairness and doing the right thing, and I care about people. So, but some people would say I said 95% sunshine and 5% hurricane. A friend of mine said, yeah, I'm not sure you've got your stats right. So I think they think it's more like maybe 75% sunshine and 25% hurricane. But so if someone does the wrong thing, and I'll challenge anyone. I don't, so if the chief exec or someone senior or very important, anyway. So yeah, but I put in a grievance and a whistleblowing and a bullying claim against the chief exec of a local authority. I knew life was going to be challenging, but I had to do it. And the book tells you kind of what was going on. But then I suddenly find myself, the trade union was against me. They actually put in a statement against me, right? And I suddenly thought, well, I am totally alone in this, right? How does HR get, we can get stuck in the middle, can't we? It's but we deserve to be looked at. So I did it all on my own, but I'd also blown up my career. Let's face it, no one's good. So I was like, well, I wanted to switch to helping employees, and I looked into, could I just do it as HR? And it looked like it was really difficult. You have to get complicated insurance, and I only know of one person who's ever done it, right? But then I went, wow. Well, why can't I just be a trade union rep? But the unions wouldn't let me in because they said I didn't know enough. And I was like, I've got a law degree, a psychology degree, a master's in HR, and I've been doing high-level investigations, employee relations for 30 years. You're really telling me I don't have any skill? Anyway, so I was like, well, I'll set one up then.
Can I just go back? Because I didn't know that about the. So you approached other trade unions to see if you could be a rep, and it wasn't.
Yeah. They just reject. They said, well, you don't have enough experience. They were strictly seeking to it. I had not been a trade union rep. But I was like, seriously, how I know some of the, don't get me wrong, there's some fabulous reps, but there are some not so brilliant reps. And you're really telling me I'm not? I was admittedly applying for a job, so it wasn't a local, but still, I have a tendency, if someone tells me I can't do something, to possibly do it anyway. I mean, I'm not. So yeah, so I thought, well, I'll set it up, and I looked into it. I mean, having a law degree helps because you kind of like. I was like, well, it pretty much states. I mean, one of the things in the legislation, this is not. I'm not going to get too boring. Is it literally says you can be a temporary trade union, and I thought anything that where you can legally be a temporary trade union suggests it's not that difficult, right? Because so I realised that basically it just became, if I said it existed, then ta-da! Then of course the issue is, well, could I persuade anyone I was a trade union rep? And I did the classic thing, like, I created a logo and an email. I mean, I've never got around to doing we have got a website, but it's rubbish. And then I was like, can I pull this off? And apparently it worked. And then of course, as you kept doing it, I did a lot for free, especially in lockdown and stuff, and I just learned how to do it. And everybody's always found me. I mean, I think I'm nice and friendly, and I think you would mostly agree with that, Kirsty.
100%, yeah,
exactly.
But you absolutely are. You're an absolute pussycat until somebody does something they shouldn't be doing, or somebody is unfair either to you or someone that you're supporting or someone that you care about, and then you are formidable in the nicest possible. You are somebody that I would definitely want in my corner. I would not want to be on the opposite side of the table to you because you are formidable, and I love that. It's great.
And I guess that's it. And I think, I'd spent a lot of my time pretending I was stupider than I was and trying to be smaller, and and I was like, can I swear, Kirsty? Like, am I allowed to
speak freely, my love? Yes.
I was like, fuck this. I've had it. All right, if everyone's going to think, I mean, the chief exec of the local authority turned up to mediation, got scared and went home. He wouldn't talk to me.
Love it.
I'm like, and I've had various chief execs and stuff say, yeah, well, you're intimidating. I thought, okay, right. So if everybody's going to find me formidable, might as well lean into it, make a career of it. And then I was like, okay, so people have disrupted all sorts of industries, but it's like, because I couldn't suddenly get 1,000 members paying 20 quid a month. That was never going to work. But I'm like, well, who says we can't disrupt the funding model, right? Because I know stuff about other things as well, like business and maths, and so I was like, well, why not have a pay-as-you-go trade union where you join when you need it, and we'll pick up anybody and everybody who finds themselves in difficulty, but is I help CEOs, I help people on £1 million salaries, not all of them, obviously, it's a wide range. People in industries like sales that don't normally join trade unions, people that are in industries that have trade unions but don't join one, and then they suddenly find themselves in the middle of something and then they can't join. I was thinking, our legislation is all about helping them by having a trade union rep, but it falls down if they're not allowed to join. So I'll do it. I'll use a model that's sort of in between, a bit like coaching, a bit like advocacy, cheaper than a lawyer, and I'll set up a trade union which is entirely non-profit, and then I'll basically become an associate of that. And there's case law to say that's fine. So I was like, well, I can create all of that, and I'll charge. And yeah, sorry, I'm in a cafe because it's hot.
That's
and then
fine.
so it's like, so I was like, and I think the thing is, you see, there's lots. I mean, I didn't realise that everybody's family didn't include adventurers, innovators, academics, I was like, but I started to talk to people like, you don't have all these things in your family, and I'm like, oh, okay, so maybe it's my family then. So maybe we're all a bit unusual, but quite creatively so. So I was like, well, because most of our reaction is, if you can't, well, we'll just make it, we'll just create it. And that doesn't seem a challenge. Does that make sense? It's just
when did you start it then? Because you mentioned lockdown, so we're going back sort of 6 years now.
Yeah, no. So I decided on the 2nd of December 2018.
Oh,
I just decided.
Okay.
And because I just went, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to, like, manifestation gone nuts, right? It exists. And then, the first case I had, I was representing a director against a chief exec of a local authority, and she'd just been bullied horrifically, and she just lost her capacity. I mean, she was a fabulous woman, but anyway, so I sit there and the chief exec had gone round and asked everybody, do you think she's any good or do you think she's a bit rubbish? And I'm like, if you do that, you're undermining someone instantly. Anyway, so she went, I'm the chief exec, I can do what I want. And I said, you can do what you want, but it doesn't make it a good idea, does it? That is phenomenally ridiculous. The head of HR spat her tea out because she was like, and then she's like, I was like, we didn't have a case, but I was like, yeah, but hold on, I know local authorities. This level, you're going to have to go to full council to get this approved. You don't want to go to full council, and I can make your life. So, do you want to settle? And we did a deal, and we walked out, and the director was like, she just hugged me. She's like, you're going to be my best friend forever. Like, she just made me feel better. It made me feel safer. And I'm like, oh, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
Does that make, and you've done a bit, haven't you, Kirsty? It feels different, doesn't it? It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I became a rep for the HR and Workers Trade Union earlier this month. We're recording this in late June, and I've had 4 cases already, and I'm focusing specifically on HR professionals because that's my thing. Like you said,
your thing,
you take cases from people in multiple different types of role. Yeah. I mean, one of my reasons for wanting to take on HR cases is that we're always on the other side of the table. You don't get the same support that other employees get, and it depends on the industry that you're in, but there's not many HR people that have trade union representation currently, or would even believe that it's okay for them to use it.
Exactly.
It's something that they tend to think is for the employees in the organization, but not for them. Yeah. And it is, from a what it gives me, it really satisfies my sense of justice. I've told you this. It's really nice to be on the other side of the table for once and actually call out employers for the awful things that they do to their employees, and the poor employees don't feel like they can challenge it. No, God, it's not. But
I wish no one needed it. Yeah, I wish.
I agree.
I wish we didn't have to exist. But like in a world where people are often getting treated badly, we exist to try and help.
Do you get a lot of HR professionals approaching you? Because why did you called it the HR and Workers Trade Union? What was the thinking behind that?
HR, because I thought, well, we haven't got one, and it sort of makes sense, and I'd like to help HR people. But the workers bit was sort of an in joke. It was kind of like workers includes everyone, doesn't it? Because like we all know that, like employee workers. So I was kind of making myself laugh.
I love that.
But I also wanted it to, like, if I'd said it was the HR trade union, nobody else would come to us. Does that make sense? Like, because so I thought, well, if I say HR and workers, it's a broad enough title, and I probably get about 1/3 HR people and 2/3 non. But I mean, I've helped a fair few heads of HR and directors of HR because they really struggle sometimes, because they're like, they know their stuff, but if you're struggling, it's really hard to defend yourself, right? It's really hard when you're and also because who do they turn to? Like, and sometimes it's like I do a slightly different. I mean, one of the things I say to most people is, look, I can do and say, everybody thinks I'm going to be bolshy and loud and argumentative, so I can lean into that. But if you do it, you break the employment relationship. Do you know what I mean? So if I go too far and someone then they can just, say, well, Amy's gone too far. But if someone loses their temper, do you know what I mean? That you can't often undo that. Does that make sense? So it puts people under huge amounts of strain. Plus, no one should have to do it on their own. Plus, everybody sometimes wants to just talk it through. Also, of course, not every HR person is a specialist in this area. I mean, I hadn't realised, but I'd sort of, because I've been quite a generalist, but partly because of my brain and the kind of, I have been trained into specialist investigations in social services and childcare and NHS and fraud. I've done I had done more employee relations than I think a lot of people had, you know. So,
And
because some people like you, yeah,
I'd agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing when we talk about HR. There are so many different directions that an HR career can go, and so many areas
exactly.
that you either have lots of exposure to or no exposure to. So, a lot of my time as an HR consultant.
Yeah.
I worked in an industry, financial services, where the second things got a bit yucky, they wrote a check and made the problem go away. So
Yeah.
I've never been to tribunal as an HR professional in the UK. I have in Switzerland, I have in the Netherlands, but not in the UK because everything was always settled.
Yeah.
But the ER cases, I mean, I've dealt with a ton of ER cases, but very, very different to yours, public sector. I never worked in a
Yeah.
unionized environment. I've dealt with trade unions where people had gone and joined one, but I never
Yeah.
worked in a unionized environment. So my experience on that side of things is very, very different to yours. And I think a lot of HR professionals as well is they don't, I think also when you're in it and when it's about you, it's a
Yeah. It's
little
different.
harder to
Different.
even think about the process and think, how should I handle
Yeah.
this? What should I do?
Plus, you know, and then so I've been doing it. Like I needed to learn how to do it. I've also had, you know, like a lot of people, lots of other things to sort out in my life and my head and all the rest of it. So I didn't kind of lean into it too heavily. To start with, I did more HR consultancy and I sort of did a bit of this. But as time has gone by, I've done more and more of this. And um, I still do HR. But these days, I mean, I didn't think anyone would recruit. Like when you've published a book saying you got sacked for gross misconduct, and have been the most difficult HR person probably on the planet, then I didn't expect HR like to be taken on for HR consultancy type work. But actually, I get taken on. People seek me out sometimes because they want to prove to someone, usually their staff, maybe the board, that they've appointed someone who's going to do it properly. Like, because anyone who ever meets me goes, well, you're not going to be able to tell Amy how to get the answer you want. So if you appoint her, like, also I'll talk to staff and say, yes, I'm investigating your chief exec, but I'm a trade union as well. You can look me up. So I'm not if I think they've done it, I'm going to tell them that. Does that make sense? I'm not going to. And actually, so people seek me out for that, or how to resolve things, because I'm one of the few people who sat in every chair. So I've been a very senior manager and I've managed people. I've sat in HR, I've sat in the employee because I've got it, you know, and I've sat in the trade union chair, and not many people have done that as much. And now, of course, I've done loads of cases and I need to sit down and do the stats.
We were chatting the other day and you told me that at the start of this year you had 27 cases ongoing.
Yeah,
that seems like a heck of a lot.
Yeah, but I have a very specific system, and there's a pattern to things. So you know, I have at the beginning of the week I have stickers for different people and I place them as like action, check-in, or holding unless they come back to, and I have little cards about what I've got to do, because sometimes, like, well, you'll know this, but I mean, and especially in the public sector, you know, you start a grievance and there's lots of action, but then nothing happens for 2 weeks. So
that's true. Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, I mean, I've taught project management and program management. Like, it's just managing multiple streams of, you know, of things. I mean, that's too many. But that's why I've asked for some help. So, you know, you said you were interested, and I'm like, I can't take on any more at the moment. I'll ask Kirsty if she's interested. You know, if it's something you want to do and it helps me, that's great, isn't it? Right. So I figured you'd have the audience as well, because obviously you're known for running Evolving HR and the conference. So people are going to naturally, HR people are going to naturally be drawn to you. You're fabulous. You're also, you know, the only goth HR person I've openly met. Like, so like people are just I'm not saying you're the only one, I'm just saying you're the only one I've met, right? But like, people are going to be, so because some of it, I mean, most of it is about building rapport with someone and them feeling they can trust someone. I mean, a lot, you know, I'm a Samaritan, and a lot of what I do, you know, people always told me I've got to do this and not this, and you know, sometimes I go deep dive on the financial analysis of a FTSE 100 company to work out what their pressure points are. I'll do what, because then, like, when someone really senior says, oh, we've got no money, I just go, I've just read your report, your accounts from last week, and you've just reported a massive increase in profits. Don't mess with me. Like, don't tell me you haven't got any money. And they're like, because they don't expect me to have looked up there.
I think that's a lot of it as well, isn't it? They don't expect a lot of things. They don't expect that their employee in HR is going to turn up with a trade union representative. They don't expect that they are going to challenge their decision or, push back in any way. I think there is an arrogant assumption with a lot of organizations that we'll decide what's going to happen and everybody will just go along with it.
And what can be very empowering for people I represent, because there's a lot of people often come and they feel they can't do anything, they can't say anything, they're not allowed, and like, we haven't got time to go into the deep psychology of this, but it's pretty unhealthy, right? But one of the first cases I did was for a friend. They didn't particularly need the money right then, but they were off sick and they were being bullied. And they were like, well, can you come to a meeting? I said, I don't think you want to go to the meeting. And she said, no. I said, well, don't go then. And she's like, well, I can't not go. I'm like, of course you can. Just don't go. They're not going to send the police round, right? And she was like, you could see her face change, because she suddenly realized she'd accepted an assumption. I said, look, okay, sooner or later, you're going to have to leave, right? Because if you never go back and you never talk to them, but we can negotiate that out. But right now, you're feeling horrified that you have to even talk to these people. Well, just don't go. And we just said, she's not coming. And it was like, and of course, there's loads of things like that. I mean, I may have argued this morning with someone who went in, because I hate grievances where it's really been traumatic, and the first thing is the investigating officer's not read anything, and they start with, go through everything with me, essentially. And I just said to him, no. I said, no, you've got a whole load of paperwork. This has already been traumatizing. We aren't going through everything. If you've got a question about what we've submitted, that's fine, but we're not going to retell it all just because you haven't read anything. And he was like, but it's policy. I said, yeah, but she's struggling with mental health policy. Anyway, he's like, but I want to go, and then his HR went, we could always do it in writing. And his HR, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Because the point is, people, I've seen people get, I mean, I've done some, I'm not going to go into detail, but I've done some pretty difficult things on. I've represented some people, some employees had some pretty horrible things happen to them, right? And they've said, well, I've got no evidence. I said, you are the evidence. You don't have to have proof. What you mean is you can't prove. I said, your statement on the record is evidence. Don't let anybody ever tell you that isn't evidence. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, you say this happened, I believe you. And they're like, but I can't prove, I don't care with it. It's not the point. That is evidence. And in that particular case, which was horrifying, 4 more people came forward and they all said exactly the same thing.
Oh my God.
And that guy, in writing, threatened, he said, I'm going to church, you're going to hell, Aime. I'm going to get people to, I'm going to get my pastor to damn you to hell. It's like, well, thanks for putting it in writing, because you just, that's just, I was investigating.
He put that in writing. What an odd thing to do. Oh, there's some blooming odd people in there. I love that we've had a dog and a baby in the background so far.
Yeah, sorry.
What we'll have next. It's all right. So if there's somebody sitting watching this, going through something at work, not sure whether they could benefit from support or not from the trade union, just what sort of situations typically do people come to you with? Is like grievance or termination of employment, bullying?
It's just, I mean, to be honest, it's usually just something doesn't feel right and you need to talk it through with someone. I mean, we do a tell me your story session for 8 to 9 quid for 90 minutes, because what I learned quickly was people just want to tell you what's happening, and that whether that's redundancy, they're being bullied, they don't understand what the law is about something, they don't understand what's happening, they've been suspended, they've, you know, they're just thinking about something, they want, you know, it's something that you're not sure about that's unpleasant or uncomfortable, and you just want somebody to who knows what they're talking about. I mean, I had one person yesterday who's actually raised a tribunal and she's doing it all herself, and I don't do them that end, but all she wanted to do was talk it through and say, well, look, you've been through this, what might it look like, or what, you know. And I'm like, well, if that's okay, you know, I wasn't going to represent her to, you know, because it's, we don't go that far. We, you know, I usually get lawyers to do that bit, but like, if someone just, and she's just like, it's so useful to know what it's like, and because her background wasn't HR, and I was like, well, these are the kind of things they're going to challenge. These are the kind of things, because you can do that, because we know, like, sometimes people come out of a meeting and just don't understand what's just happened, and I'm like, oh no, this is because if you think about it, in HR, we do sometimes have to talk a little bit between the lines, right? We can't always say things as bluntly as, but I can say, oh, I know what they're heading for, like this is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how can people get in touch if they need your help, or, you know, want to find out more about the union and what you do?
I mean, if you're in evolving HR, and I would say join up, you know, join us, then it's easier to contact me because I'm in there, and the HR and Workers Trade Union are a provider, so you can literally, I mean, but people are like, oh, I've got your mobile number because we're on WhatsApp, and I'm, yeah, exactly, you can just, you know, if you're not, if someone is not a contact like that, to be honest, social media is the easiest way. You know, you just DM it, but most of the time I get phone calls from someone going, somebody's given me your number and told me to call you. I don't really know what you do, but, or who you are, but I've just rung. So like, people use my mobile. I mean, I use WhatsApp, so you know, it's DM me, LinkedIn, Facebook.
Aime, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to do another one of these about all the other things that you do, but really lovely to hear some more about how the trade union started and what it is that it does for people. And so I will, as I said, put all the links below to the trade union and to Aime's website. And if you are watching this and you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, then please do subscribe, because then you'll get to see all of our other lovely conversations as and when they come out. So, Aime, once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Bye.